London Project, we are back once again. I've got with me a new guest this week. His name is Ciaran Callam.
Hello.
He's got a blog, ciarancallam.com.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And I first heard about you from, I think it was a Facebook post, that you did a 50-day challenge where you went out every day and you talked to at least 2 women. Wasn't that the challenge?
Yeah.
And that kind of struck me because I thought, that dedication to keep hitting it and have that motivation to actually do it. I just find that really interesting because, I just don't think I've ever done something so committed and keep at it for days after days after days. So that was probably what kind of drew me to this conversation, really. So, Ciaran, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty well.
So I've got to ask you about that. What inspired you to get out there 50 days, and why did you choose 50 days?
Oh gosh. All right. Well, it's quite a story. I was engaged. Actually, no. Go back. I spent 7 years in a relationship with a woman I should not have been in. That relationship ended in 2011. 2010 or 2011. Then I spent about a year learning to get better with women. Then I met another girl and I spent 4 years with her. 4.5 years with her. I was engaged to her. I was engaged to this girl from January 2015 to January 2016. And then that relationship falls through, we split up, etc. And at that point, I think I'm 33. Either 33 or 34. Actually, I was 33. And then I thought to myself, shit, I'm 33 years old and my relationship with women isn't what I want it to be at all. Every guy has that James Bond fantasy, of just getting as many girls as possible. It's like, I'm running out of time. I ain't done this at all. I ain't done anything like that. What the fuck?
So you've always been a relationship kind of guy?
I guess. Anyway, so basically, I got back into game and I was, getting good results, relatively speaking, and on Tinder and all this sort of stuff. It was actually weird because Tinder came out when I was actually in a relationship with a girl that I was engaged to. And part of me was always a bit sad because I felt like life was passing me by. That everyone was talking about this thing, Tinder, and I never used it. Anyway, so in the summer, I met this girl. And it was like July of last year. I won't say her name, but we weren't actually in a relationship, but we created this bond between us, this bond. Yeah. It's kind of like the love I had for her was greater than any of my actual girlfriends, but me and her weren't even together.
Okay.
And so because she was always going to Jamaica. We met and she was like, oh, I'm going to Jamaica to live for a year and a month. So oh, okay, fine. But in the space of that month, me and her got close. Just close. Close. As the song says, closer than you ever can imagine, close.
Yeah, Rosie Gaines.
Exactly.
Why do you think that was? What was it that was unique about this girl?
Because she understood me in a way that the other girls never had. And we had similar mindsets. But we'd be talking for hours and that sort of thing.
And how did you meet her? I'm curious about how you met her. Tinder?
Yeah.
So you finally got on Tinder and you met a cool chick from it.
Yeah. But anyway, so by the time she left, I was upset that she'd left, and she was probably a bit upset as well. But she left and she goes to Jamaica, and we're still keeping in touch. We're still keeping in touch and messaging on WhatsApp and what have you. But the thing is, those Jamaican men, they're quite irresistible.
I've heard rumours.
They're irresistible. And she wasn't able to resist their charms.
And she told you?
Yeah. Because we had a relationship that was founded on just brutal honesty. Now, the long and short of it was, she eventually just lost interest, right? And this was when was this? When the fuck did she lose interest? Either late October or early November of 2016 or so.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if she's away in Jamaica and you're here, I mean, long distance relationships, I mean, do they work?
No, you see, okay, let me restate. It wasn't so much that it was meant to be a relationship per se, as much as we were keeping the lines of communication open. And bearing in mind that she was only supposed to be there for a year. So we're keeping the lines of communication open, and then at some point she'd be back in the UK and we'd see what the fuck was going on.
Yeah.
That was the idea. But then after a couple of months later, she realised that, the sun, the sea, the sands.
Yeah.
Bare-chested, sweaty Jamaicans.
Those Jamaicans.
So yeah. So anyway, so I was kind of hurt, broken up, whatever, however the fuck you want to call it. Now, I didn't actually realise it, but somebody pointed out to me that I started doing 100 women in 50 days. Oh, sorry, I was banging the table. I started doing 100 women in 50 days about a month after that happened. I didn't, at the time, think it had anything to do with it, but it probably did have something to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
So I said... It's kind of like, when I was growing up, I'm going on a slight tangent, but there's a purpose for it.
By all means.
When I was growing up, I grew up in like a middle-class white neighbourhood where all the kids were well-spoken and all of the boys were scared to talk to girls. But on the weekends, I'd spend time with my cousin. He lived in an area called Handsworth.
So you're from the Midlands, right?
Yeah, I'm from Birmingham. My cousin lived in Handsworth, and Handsworth was where basically all of the criminals grew up. So when you're 13, 14, 15, 16, those kids are doing stuff that looks really cool to you.
I think I've heard the word Handsworth to do with like riots and stuff like that. Was there any riots ever out there? Or
Before my time, yeah. Before my time. Have you ever heard of group gangs called Johnson's and Burger Bar Crew in Birmingham? Ah, okay. Either way, so I'm in my mid-teens and like all of these kids are like, the black kids who I'd spend time with on the weekends, if they were walking the streets and they saw a girl they liked, they'd just go up to her and talk to her and get the girl's number. And afterwards they're saying that they've had sex with her. I don't know if they had, they might have been lying, but I know, you know what I mean? At that age, you just believe everything they're saying. And I've seen them go up to this girl and get the number. I didn't have the confidence to do that and stuff. Whereas the kids I was with midweek, they weren't like that at all. But I was actually more like the kids that I spent time with midweek, and I wanted to be like those other guys.
So from an early age, you saw essentially street game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was wanting to do it. Always did. Like, always. And you know what? Every time I walked the streets and I saw a girl I was attracted to and I didn't speak to her, I was like, oh.
Yeah, it kind of nags at you, doesn't it, when you see a girl, especially if she looks at you a little bit, maybe there's a bit of eye contact, and you still don't approach. You do feel like a douche. So I came up with 100 women in 50 days. I don't remember how I came up with the title, because you know what, it's actually quite catchy, at the risk of tooting my own horn. But I don't know where, I can't really remember where it came from, but I was like, all right, screw it. I'm going to go out and I'm going to approach 2 women a day for 50 days. Have you ever done any like street approach kind of projects or whatever?
Not projects, just bits and pieces.
Like how many days in a row do you reckon that you've been kind of active, like at one time? Do you think, prior to your 50 days? Maximum
2.
Yeah.
There might have been a time where I did an approach on a Friday and one on a Saturday, maybe. That was maybe. I hadn't done much at all.
So it's quite a big leap then. I'm just trying to get that, it's quite a big step up to go from that to all of a sudden in your mind, you're now thinking 50 days, 100 girls.
Yeah.
It's happening.
Yeah.
And your personality type, did you know that when you set that goal, did you know that you'd carry it out?
Well, you see, I thought I knew, because like when you have an idea, inspiration and motivation is fleeting. So it's like, you have an idea, you decide to do something, you're like, this is what I'm going to do. But it doesn't last forever. And then after a while it fades, and then it's discipline that carries you through. But I decided to like hack my brain, because I don't like to be publicly humiliated. That's like one of the things, that's like a real massive trigger for me. If you gave me the option, Ciaran, I'm going to have somebody basically, I'm going to give you excruciating pain for like an hour, just like the worst pain ever, or have you be humiliated in public, I'll take the pain. I fucking hate humiliation. It's just like a trigger. So this is what I decided. I said to myself, I'm going to post this thing on Facebook. And everybody I know is going to see. By posting it on Facebook, that meant I needed to continue.
Right.
Because I can't start this thing.
You can't back out now.
No. But then it's like, well, hold on. Every woman I know is on Facebook, and they're going to know I'm going out and doing it. How's that going to look? That's for fuck it. Screw it.
That's brave. I think that was another point I talked to you before the podcast started rolling, was that the fact that you use your real name, your blog, CiaranCallam.com. A lot of people, when they blog about, lifestyle and game and self-improvement, they do it anonymously. But everything about you is just honest and out there, Facebook, the internet, and you're fine with that. Fair enough.
Because, you know what? It's like, we live in a world where everybody's just shit scared. People are just like scared of everything. Everyone is kind of like, most people in the world are actually sheep. Well, like they're being sheep. Most people are being sheep. Inside they're not sheep. Inside they have like a personality and whoever it is they are. But they're scared to step out of the crowd, and they fear that if they do even the tiniest thing that's different, everybody's going to judge them. But then it's like half those things that they're worried about being judged for, things that everybody does. So I'm doing this 100 Women in 50 Day challenge, and I wrote like, you know, at the start of each day, because I wrote it as a blog, I say why I'm doing the challenge, and that as a man I'm expected to approach women, and it's hard for a guy to do, but nobody ever really talks about it, and I want to get over the fear. Now, every freaking, I don't know why I fought back the swear word, but screw it. Every person who read that can relate to that, because either you're a man and you're like, yeah, I think about talking to girls and I'm scared, or you're a woman, you go, yeah, actually, if I had to approach a guy, I would be scared to do that, and there are times when I have to talk to people and I find it scary.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? All I'm doing is just saying something everybody feels.
That's it. So how did you do it? Did you make a special time in the day to do it, or was it part of your daily life when you were out anyway?
Part of my daily life.
Yeah.
So I wake up in the morning, it's like, okay, I've got 2 approaches to do. Now, it was one thing that was quite harsh about it. It's like, before I did those 2 approaches, my day wasn't really fun. Because firstly, I know I've got to do the 2 approaches. Then I have to write about the approach and then post it online and what have you. But also, I'm only approaching women I'm attracted to. Because if I approach a woman, at the risk of sounding like an arsehole, if I approach a woman that I know I could get easily, or I'm not attracted to, or I think is under my league, then I'm not really pushing myself. I have to be approaching women that I want to go for.
Yeah. There is a different feeling, isn't there? When you see a woman who's hot or whatever that you're into, it's a different feeling to go up to her, isn't it?
Yeah.
Compared to just speaking to anyone.
Yeah, it is.
So it's a bigger challenge, definitely.
But one thing I didn't like was that I'd be like scrutinising every woman I saw. Every woman I saw. Every woman I saw, I'm scrutinising.
Yeah, and how do you pick one? Yeah.
How do you pick?
Yeah,
Kind of just know.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Because I kind of find that sometimes that, yeah, you're right. You know, when you go out and you want to approach some women, you end up just like being in hunt mode and just like scoping out. And yeah, it can kind of get to your brain a little bit after that. So I think I like to just kind of, you know, turn that off sometimes and just, yeah. So what was that first day, that first approach? What was that like?
I don't really remember the first approach. I remember, to be honest, all of my approaches went well. Well as in I didn't have anyone slap me or call me an arsehole or whatever. The worst thing that happened though was definitely one of the first approaches. This must have been either on like day 2 or 3 or something like that. It's 1000% in the first week. Anyway, I walk up to this woman. I'm near Liverpool Street Station. Asian girl, and I think she's a businesswoman. She's like walking past Starbucks, and I stop her and I say,
What time of day was it, first of all?
6.
Evening.
I think so.
Okay.
And I said something like, hey, can I speak to you or something? And she goes, why would you want to talk to me? She just looked at me with there was no friendliness, there was no smile, there was no love. She was like, why would you want to talk to me? And I can't remember what I said. I don't remember what I said, but whatever I said, she just carried on walking.
Yeah.
Carried on walking. But that's by far the worst thing that happened.
I mean, if that's the thing. I think that's the thing. If that's the worst thing that's happened, then you know that, you know, a lot more people should be doing this. You know, there's nothing to fear, really, is there? Yeah. So, yeah, man, day 1, day 2, you know, was it just plain sailing? You know, that first week?
First week plain sailing.
I mean, did you ever, like, go out and not approach because you bottled out, or did you ever kick yourself?
I did that loads of times.
Yeah.
There were loads of times when I saw women I wanted to speak to and I didn't do it. Loads. But then when that happened, I'd write about it as well.
Yeah?
Like I wanted to see this girl and I didn't do it. Or what happened a lot was I realised there were situations I was more comfortable approaching him. For instance, it's one thing to approach a woman who's walking by on her own. Then it's another thing to be on the tube and it's rush hour. And then there's a girl, and she's like, you know, on the tube where you got like the row of seats, and there's like 5 in a row. What happens if there's a girl in the middle? What happens if you want to speak to her?
Yeah.
Then what the fuck do you do? Or if you're in Starbucks and it's like quiet. You're in Starbucks and it's quiet, but it's packed. it's packed but quiet, and then you could like hear a pin drop, like no one's really talking. And then there's the girl, she sat there, and then you want to speak to her. I noticed that there were those sorts of situations. I quickly got over the whole, oh, I've seen you and I want to speak to you. But then it more became about various situations that actually were scary. So towards the end of the challenge, I worked on those sorts of situations.
So you think this is important because you think that from going out every day, you kind of cured approach anxiety in a normal setting. So on the street, you could approach pretty much anyone. But then the challenge became doing it in a more, restrictive environment like the tube or coffee.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, that's basically it. I mean, to be honest, from the challenge now, I'm in a relationship now. So I don't do approaches per se. Truth be told, if I see a woman that's hot, I will actually go up to her and say, you know what, you're hot. There's nothing beyond that.
Yeah.
I'm not asking for your number, but just, hey, I think you are sexually attractive. Have a good day. I still do actually do that. But also, I mean, I've started something called Singing with Strangers, where I post it up on YouTube and Instagram, and I basically find strangers and I just sing with them. And it's kind of like the same thing, really. Hey guys, will you sing with me? Yeah, okay, blah, blah. It's all based on stuff that I learned doing that.
Yeah. And how does that go? People sing along or people say, no, get lost?
I've only had one group of people say no.
Yeah. So, like you mentioned your opener, which is obviously the first thing that you'd say to the girl as you stop her, being quite direct, talking about how you find her attractive. Has that been from day 1 to day 50? That's your opening line?
That was more or less it. On one of the days I came up with some bull crap. Oh no, it wasn't. Actually, what it was is I was in the gym and I saw this girl and she was working out. She's like a personal trainer. I happen to like women that work out. I don't just mean like a girl, like, oh, I go to the gym and I do cardio and I'm skinny. Like, I like girls who look like they work out. Not necessarily bodybuilders. But
girls that squat, basically.
Yeah,
Let's get to it. Let's get to the point.
Yeah, man. Like, yeah.
Well, yeah. There is a benefit to girls that squat, right?
And long may it continue as well. But anyway, so I'm in there and I saw her.
Surprise, surprise, Ciaran's a black guy and he likes ass.
Shock horror. Shock horror.
Stereotypes.
Weird thing, right? So my girlfriend, she's Greek, right? And she's Greek and she likes black men. But she moved over to England about 2 years ago and only decided she liked black men since moving over here. Because apparently in Greece, it's like, well, it's quite homogenous, everybody's Greek. And also a lot of bad things are said about black men. So she's like, oh, I did not like. But then I moved over here, I realised I like. But anyway.
That's a very good Greek impression.
Thank you. Well, I mean, I spend a lot of time talking to her. Point being though, right? Let's just say she has a bit of a rump. Right, she has a rump. And she's all saying to me that she doesn't like it. I'm like, look, right? You like black men? She's like, yes. Black men like big asses, right? What the fuck are you talking about? You get rid of that, you're getting rid of like the main piece of bait that you have to snare your target audience.
This is correct.
But I've gone on a tangent. Oh yeah, so the girl's in the gym. And she's working out. And I saw her, and the thing is, it wasn't that I was scared to approach her per se. I mean, I was to whatever degree I'd be scared to approach a girl, but what it was is that when I'm in the gym, I'm quite serious about my workout. And I don't like to waste time. I like to hop from machine to machine to machine so that I kill my muscles and then just get out of there quicker, no longer than I have to be. But this girl's doing exercises and I'm doing exercises, and I wanted my approach to her to coincide with a time when I've finished my workout and she's finished hers, because I didn't want to mess up her workout, but it didn't coincide. So like I would be working out and then I'd stop and then she's doing something. It's like, oh, for fuck's sake. And then eventually I thought, you know what, screw it, I'm just going to go and speak to her. But then at that point she walked and it looked like she left the gym. And I thought, oh, come on, man. So then I'm sort of like doing some ab exercises or something and she comes back in. I was like, yeah. So she comes back in and I went up to her and I came up with this on the spot, but I thought it was really good. I said, excuse me, can I tell you something? And she goes, what? I was like, all right, but do you promise not to get mad? She's like, what? No, but okay, look, do you promise? Oh my god, what is it? I was like, I think you're absolutely gorgeous.
Nice.
And then she laughed. No, she claimed to have a boyfriend, which probably was true, I don't know. But it went down so well that I used that line again, like another time when I was at the gym.
Yeah.
Other than that, it was just
build that tension, like, can I tell you something? And then whatever. That's decent. That's decent. So, yeah, like, again, this 50-day thing. So, yeah, you talked about different areas. Did you do that tube approach with the girl that was sat in the middle of 5 seats?
Not the first time, but eventually I did. Yeah.
Because that is pretty ballsy, isn't it? I mean, normally on a Friday night, Saturday night, when people are drunk, yeah, it's easier to game girls, talk to girls on the tube, but I can imagine on a Tuesday evening in rush hour. Yeah. So how did it go?
God, I don't really remember. One thing I do remember is I was in a Starbucks. It was a very similar situation. I was in a Starbucks and it was absolutely jam-packed, and there was a girl, hot girl I wanted to speak to. I saw her, I was like, Jesus Christ. And she was sat next to some guy. The guy was just there doing whatever. And I thought, I want to speak to her. And I had at least one approach to do for the day. And it's packed, and come on. And then I'm like fighting with myself internally. Come on. I'm calling myself racial slurs in my head, you black bastard. This and I just get up and do it.
That's pretty harsh.
Just trying to motivate myself. But anyway, I got up and I did it. I went up to her. And I said, can I say, I think you're absolutely beautiful. I'd like to sit and talk with you. Can I do that? Massive smile, but like a genuine smile though. Like it came from within. Like I said exactly what she wanted to hear. To be honest, it's like she must have noticed me beforehand and thought I was hot or something, and like kind of been half hoping, because it wasn't like that smile. Yeah, it was great.
But before you went in, was there anything that looked like she might have wanted you to come over? Did she give you any hints?
I'm really bad at noticing stuff like that. I'm bad. Well, as any time I've ever approached any girl in any situation, I've just been diving in blind. There's been like a couple of instances where I've been in a club and I thought, that girl's looking at me. But nah. Yeah. When I'm with my girlfriend, she's like, like I was with my girlfriend, we're in a coffee shop, and I'm talking to the woman in the coffee shop, and I'm trying to be nice and friendly and crack jokes. And then afterwards, my girlfriend goes, the way that woman spoke to you, she liked you. And I was like, did she? I mean, it just seemed like a friendly girl. Did she?
Maybe she did. It's hard to tell, isn't it? But
did she?
I don't know. I think, if your girlfriend sat next to you while you're talking to some other girl, I think there's going to be a little bit of jealousy there, isn't it? I mean, it's just natural. It's just natural. It's kind of like when you take a decent looking girl to a nightclub, and then you go to the toilet and you come back and she's surrounded by dudes just talking to her. And of course she's just being friendly, but you as a guy, you know that guy is talking to her because, whatever. So it does get to you a little bit. But I'm kind of curious. So before you got into all this, you had a 7-year relationship and then a 4-year relationship, and you were nearly married. You were engaged. Yeah. So, what? I mean, it does seem like, obviously, a big change from 11 years of commitment. What would you say? Are you more of a player or a commitment guy? I mean, how would you kind of decide what side of the... Because obviously nowadays a lot of people are just single life nowadays, aren't they? The marriage rates are not what they used to be. People aren't getting married. What's your thoughts on that kind of life in the future?
What, being married?
Yeah, getting married and...
Okay, so I'd like to settle down with someone. I don't necessarily see the need to get married per se. I don't see why the government needs to be involved in your relationship.
I completely agree.
The 2 year love each other, then you love each other, that's it. I definitely want kids. I definitely do. Because I feel like I've been through some stuff in my life, which looking back wasn't as bad as it could have been. But I feel like if I had somebody to tell me what I know now when I was like 10 years old, Jesus fucking Christ. Jesus Christ. And I've always wanted to be a dad and be like an amazing dad, but I feel like with the stuff that I know, the things that I've learned either from just like life experience or from studying. For instance, if I have a son, imagine I have a son and that son's like 12 and he's starting to get interested in girls. Son, all right, let's have a chat. Me and you are going to talk. Yeah. Oh, son, you want a PlayStation 10? Okay, you see that girl over there, you got to approach her. No PlayStation. Oh, son, you want
That's
X,
cruel.
Y, and Z. You want X, Y, and Z. Okay, I'll give you that, but you've got a month to do 50 press-ups. If you can do 50 press-ups in a month, there you go. And then the son's like there, or even the daughter, they're trying to do the press-ups. And it's like they're learning that if they work hard, they can actually get something. And it's like a teacher, so much shit. But
yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing is, kind of like getting that hard-working mentality, to get them to realize earlier on that working hard is, what's going to lead to rewards. And it's a good point that you bring up about, just not knowing so much when you were younger compared to now. I think that's the thing. That's why I think a lot of guys are in game, because they didn't develop or feel like they were told how to be around women, how to naturally be the guy that women are attracted to. Hence why now there's a massive multi-million-dollar industry, RSD, and all these different companies that are out there teaching guys how to do this. Which, like you say, if we all had dads like what you're planning to be, we wouldn't need to
Films fucked me up when I was a kid. I remember when I was young, I used to watch Coming to America a lot. Eddie Murphy. Don't know if you've ever seen that film.
Good film, yeah.
So basically, in that film, there's a character called Daryl. And Daryl is the main rival of Eddie Murphy. He's the love rival. Eddie Murphy's in love with a woman called Lisa. Lisa's in a relationship with Daryl. Eddie Murphy doesn't like Daryl. The audience doesn't like Daryl. At one point, Daryl says something that got into my head as a kid. And I really wish I'd never seen the film. Because he's there and he's talking to Eddie Murphy, and he goes, "Hey, just so you know, what a woman really wants is she wants a man to take charge, tell her what to do." That's what he says. And then Eddie Murphy has this look on his face like, "Oh my God, you pig. How could you even say that? That's not what a woman wants. A woman wants to be nurtured and cherished," which is true. But at the same time, it's like that film made me think, oh, if I like a woman, I should not be forward in my advances, because that's not what she wants. She will come to me. I will sit back and I will let her come to me, and I will be respectful. Shit like that got in my head. And then I'm in my teenage years and I'm like, well, I'm going to be a good guy. I'm not going to come forward and be all rapey. But then the girls didn't want that. Now, the truth is, that guy Daryl was depicted as being an arsehole, but if I actually agreed with him in that moment, I took that forward throughout my childhood, I'd have had so much more sex.
Yeah, but you'd be a bit of a psychopath as well, though, wouldn't you? I mean, that's the thing.
You know what, though? I'm going to be honest. I would rather spend my teenage years as a psychopath that was like satisfied with women, and then like reach a point in my mid-20s and be like, oh, this is wrong. I need to treat women better.
Yeah.
Then go the other way. I'm just saying, like, the point I'm making is like, things like that, you grow up and then you watch that sort of stuff, and there's always rom-coms where the nice guy gets the girl and stuff. And like, I don't know if you've noticed this, but James Bond is the only man in cinema who's allowed to be a man. James Bond is the only man who will ever kiss a woman first. You watch any film or TV show where a man and a woman kiss, the woman always like moves in first and kisses the guy first. Always.
Really?
Yes.
You know what? I can't really think now. But I mean, yeah, it's a good point about James Bond. Obviously, James Bond is like alpha. Wasn't there a scene in one of the old Sean Connery ones where he was like slapping this girl or whatever? I think something like that happened.
Probably.
Times have changed. I'm sure that stuff wouldn't really be shown on movies nowadays.
No, you can't slap a woman on TV.
No, not unless she really deserves it, maybe. Anyway, yeah, so before we move on from this 50-day challenge, so just give us some of your insights then from 50 days of walking the streets, talking to 2 hot girls a day, because a lot of guys out there wish that they could do something like this. I mean, what's your advice to the guys out there?
That you think you can't do it, and because you think you can't do it, you think you'll never be able to do it. But everything you can do now was at one point something you couldn't do. You weren't born able to walk. You weren't born able to talk. You didn't have to tie your shoelaces at one point. At one point, you tied your shoelaces and thought, fuck, yes, I've tied my shoelaces. It's just like that. It's just another thing that you actually don't know. But it's like, I think I mentioned this in one of my YouTube videos, but babies don't realise the concept of embarrassment. So if you look at babies when they're trying to walk, they fall over all the time, but they just keep getting up. Because in no way do they... I'll snap my fingers again. In no way do they correlate like the failure of falling over to mean anything about them as a person. So they just keep going. But then they become adults and then all of a sudden they think, oh, go to an acting class. No, I might look silly if I tried that. If human beings all thought... If babies thought like adults, babies would never learn to walk. Just go out and do it. Like, and yeah, you'll mess up a couple of times. Like,
yeah, and then the other thing as well that a lot of people are quite disbelieving when it comes to people having success from street game. They'll assume that you're this, 6'5" Adonis, pretty boy. You got away with the ladies. So just in your own words, just describe what you look like and how do you think that helps or doesn't help your game?
To be honest with you, okay, this is what I'll say. I believe, and somebody's going to go, no, that's not true. I believe that if I lived in an all-black country like Zimbabwe, then my looks would be fabulous. Because I am a good-looking guy. I am. However, I'm also a black guy. And black men carry around the black myth. And the black myth is that, oh, you're 50 Cent and you carry a gun, and maybe you're not educated, and maybe you're violent, and all of this sorts of stuff. And it's kind of like, actually, I was with my girlfriend the other day, and I asked the woman for the time, and the woman like kind of seized up. And I was like, excuse me, I was so polite, I was like, excuse me, can I have the time? And then the woman seized up. And I didn't think anything of it, but my girlfriend goes, why? Why should she react to you like this? Oh, why should she react to you this way? I was like, this is what happens.
Your girlfriend sounds funny as fuck. She does. She does. All right.
That's what she said. But so what I'll say is, when I approach people, I honestly believe, like, besides like the women who actively want black men, and there are those women, I believe that while I'm physically attractive, on the one hand, women want to be attractive, but they also want to feel safe. And the safety element is kind of lacking from me. Even if, like, not to say that these women are racist, but people pick up unconscious biases without realizing.
Yeah, of course.
And when I approach a girl, I'm triggering danger. So I'm working against the danger. Whereas like an average guy, even though I am good looking, I grew up thinking I was ugly. And this is it. I look at it like, how did I even think that? I'm actually... But
you're a good looking guy.
But I grew up, I only realised that a couple of years ago. And it sounds arrogant to say, but a couple of years ago, there was a point where I was like, oh my God, I'm actually good looking. And how did I spend all those years thinking I was ugly? Which is actually like an insult to people who really are and have something to worry about. But anyway, the point I'm making is, while, say, a guy who's average or guy who's ugly has to fight against the fact that, or work past the fact that he's not attractive, I'm working past the fact that, the woman's worried I might rob her or something.
So, I mean, on that, sorry to interrupt you, but, like, did you ever vary up your look at all? Like, because you're wearing a baseball cap today, but did you ever try, I don't know, dressing differently, sometimes upscale, sometimes downscale, seeing if there was any response?
Yeah, okay, why am I stumbling over my words? It's hard to explain. It's like, the thing with me is, I refuse to, like, dilute myself. So I'll explain what I mean. So, like, I've always kind of grown up sort of feeling like I was with white people midweek, black people weekends, and I felt like I didn't really belong with either of them, really. That's kind of how I felt, but I took things from both. Mm-hmm. So here I'm walking around with a baseball cap, etc. I kind of, and it's probably to my detriment in a lot of situations, but I won't say, oh, well, okay, well, I'm walking through central London and there's going to be loads of Europeans, so I'm going to change the way I look. I'm like, no, this is actually me, even though it might be to my detriment. But then if I was to go to like some sort of R&B club, which is going to be filled with black girls and like slightly ghetto Asian girls, I'd still do the same thing, and then I'd maybe slightly work to my detriment as well.
But I mean, I'm just trying to, obviously when you go out and, you're meant to look your best, aren't you? I mean, that's my personal philosophy. If you're going to step out of your house, always look your best, Doesn't mean that you should go out suited or whatever, but I'm just trying to get from you if you found the response was any different, if you could dress differently. Yeah. So
1,000%.
Yeah. What differences were they like?
You have to dress for your target market, basically.
Yeah.
It basically is. So it's like, where I work, I wear a nice sensible shirt and a tie and trousers and shoes.
I mean, even just wearing clothes that fit, a lot of guys just fail at that. They're wearing things that are too baggy or whatever. I think that's probably number one fashion tip out there.
Well, I mean, it is, but what I'm basically getting at is like, if you like girls who are hippie girls, for instance, girls who wear sandals and beads and are into like stones that they focus their energies into and things like that, and they wear like flowery dresses. If you like girls like that, it's going to help you to dress like them, not obviously in the sorts of clothes that they wear, but like guys that they'd be into dress like that. So when I'm going to work, if I want to go for if I see some woman who looks like a banker or something and I go and speak to her, she'll give me the time of day because she'll look at me and think, oh well, he's a well-to-do gentleman and he looks quite
exactly. That's exactly what I just wanted to confirm with you. But I mean, obviously this topic can run and run. We can come back to it, but I want to move on to the other reason why I got you on here as a podcast, and that's the health and diet that you've also done on your channel and your blogs and stuff like that. I mean, obviously you're a pretty hench looking dude. So obviously, like you mentioned, you hit the gym, and I'm sure you tried to eat well. So, and then also, you're talking to me before the podcast started rolling about milk and avoiding it. So you seem to have a lot to say about health and diet. So what's so
I am no scientist, so I have to give that caveat. But I believe that the powers that be don't give the tiniest crap about our health. I believe that's true. For instance, I found out the other day, actually no, let me go back, I'll say something else first. I have had the world's worst hay fever for my whole entire life. And when I say the world's worst, I literally mean it. Anybody who's known me for a long time will tell you that they've never seen worse hay fever than me. Honestly. When summer comes, sneezing, eye streaming, mucus leaking out my nose, at all times just like I'm literally the world's worst hay fever. I've been going to the doctor since I was 10, and they go, oh, here, have these tablets. Never once did any of those guys say to me, oh, Ciaran, it might be in your diet. It might be. I did the ketogenic diet last summer, and I didn't do it for hay fever. I did it to basically cleanse my body and get rid of body fat. But I noticed that when I was on it, I had no hay fever. And I thought, what the fuck is going on?
Okay, first of all, what is the ketogenic diet?
Okay, so basically it's a diet that is predicated on the notion that in the West, we eat diets that are really high in sugar. And your body gets the energy from the glucose. However, your body can also derive energy from ketones. Ketones come from fat. So you can actually eat a diet that's high in fat, where good.
It's a certain kind of fats, yeah. It's not just like McDonald's every day.
Yeah, say the fat that comes in meat and things like that, or in nuts. If you eat a diet that's really high in things like that, your body will cross over. There'll be a point where you go into ketosis where your body's like, fuck, we've got no sugar, there's no glucose, what the hell are we going to do? I like to think that your cells held like a little conference about the sugar depleted, if that's even a word, and how are we going to resolve this situation? Going, well, there's no sugar, but we do have all this fat. Do you think we can do it? Can we actually restructure things to get energy from fat? I think we can. All in favour. We don't actually have a choice. So then your body basically gets energy from fat, but that's actually much healthier for you. Much healthier, because sugar is actually a bit of a toxic chemical that fucks you up in a number of ways. It makes you less intelligent. Sugar causes hay fever, which is why I was getting hay fever, because I was eating loads of sugar.
Sugar causes hay fever? Wow.
Yes.
I've never heard that before.
It's friggin' true, because there's a parasite, you know, like in your gut, you have like good bacteria and bad bacteria.
Yep.
There's a bad bacteria called Candida. And Candida is, everybody has it, but loads of people have way more of it than they realise. And effectively, when you eat that high in sugar, Candida goes and it spreads. But then also, it like basically, it breaks off and it just like enters your bloodstream. And it causes loads of things like lethargy, tiredness, it causes hay fever and some other things I can't think of off the top of my head. But basically, when you...
Sounds bad enough, to be honest.
Yeah, it's terrible. Candida is really bad. But then when you stop eating it, when you stop eating sugary foods and then switch to fat, your body kills, the Candida starts to die, and then your body gets the energy from ketones rather than sugar, and then your brain becomes more sharper and energetic, things like this.
I mean, you're saying that you had the world's worst hay fever. I mean, it's summertime now, and you look completely fine. You know, I don't see any bogies hanging out your nose or anything like that. You look completely fine to me. So, yeah, whatever you did to change your diet, like you say, it does seem to be working. So, but I mean, normally when people talk about avoiding sugar, it's always been from a health point of view as sugar makes you fat because, you know, for whatever, you know, your body, the way your body deals with sugar. So you try to minimize sugar that way to lower your body fat. But yeah, you've just introduced a whole new angle on why you should avoid sugar.
Sugar's more well, I don't know if it's more addictive, but apparently it's like on a level of addiction, relatively speaking, to like cocaine. It's about as addictive as cocaine.
But it's completely legal. You can go out there, buy, you know, cans of Coke.
Oh, and one thing about Candida, which will scare you actually, is that it's like this. Candida is a parasite, and it needs you to eat sugar in order for it to live. Now, guess what it does? It basically, the bacteria in your gut have a relationship with your brain, which I think is through something called the vagus nerve. Candida, because it knows you need to eat sugar in order to feed it, Candida sends you signals to make you crave sugary food. So you have parasites inside you that are basically, they need you to eat sugar. So they convince you to want sugar so that you go out and eat a Mars bar to actually fuel them. And then as they're fueled, they actually damage your body.
Yeah. Well, that happens in the animal kingdom, doesn't it? Like, bacteria infects animals in a certain way that will make them, for example, make a mouse behave in a more risky way so that mouse gets eaten by a cat, and then the bacteria can form in the cat's stomach and stuff like that. So, yeah, it's... to think that affects humans as well. It's pretty nuts. So, you know, imagine that you're the average guy, you know, the average guy that you'd know from, say, work or the average friend and stuff. What would be, you know, health and diet tips that you'd give them? Just, I mean, obviously avoid sugar is, we could all do that.
Honestly, the easiest thing to say is that if a man made it, don't eat it. Let's explain what I mean. So, nuts, they're of the earth, great. Fruit, of the earth, great. Meat, apparently humans aren't meant to eat meat, but, you know, something I'm kind of looking into. But for instance, a McDonald's cheeseburger is basically a congealed mass of chemicals, for the most part. Which is why, for instance, McDonald's cheeseburgers don't actually rot if you leave them out. Like, you could actually take a McDonald's cheeseburger and then leave it on this table for about 2 years. You'll come back and it will slightly fade, but it will still be there.
Okay. That's pretty disgusting, to be honest. I'm trying to imagine a 2-year-old fucking burger.
Can of 7-Up? Nah, leave it alone. Just like, if it's like natural, then eat it.
Well, that's the thing. That's what you always hear, that you shouldn't eat processed foods. But I'm thinking everything is processed nowadays. Like, how can you survive without eating processed foods? What are you going to do? Prepare every meal yourself? Only go to health food shops? I mean,
kind of.
What are the practical ways that you can kind of live this life? Or do you just have to admit that it's going to be more work, more effort?
It is more work. I mean, okay, so I'm somebody who happens to believe, I don't necessarily believe that this is all a coincidence. I mean, it might be a coincidence, but in the 1950s, the sugar industry, it's either the 50s or the 60s, but the sugar industry literally paid off scientists to produce fake studies that said
I've heard this.
Yeah. That's actually the world we're living in. And also, the majority of non-white people are actually lactose intolerant. the majority. It's like 80% of black people, and it's like even higher for like Native Americans. The dairy industry, they actually know, they just don't say. They know and they don't say because they don't want to lose out on money from people like me and you. So, to be honest...
How would you know that? Say, for example, I've been drinking milk pretty much straight from the womb to now, really. How would you know if you're lactose intolerant? I mean,
well, okay,
what would it do to me?
If you've been drinking milk straight from the womb, then whatever effect it's had on you, it will always have. And it'll probably make you slightly sluggish and less energy, more lethargic. And
I do like naps.
And more clammy.
I'm not going to lie.
That's probably the stuff it will do for you. But the point is, if you've been doing it for your whole life, then the effects are just there. For instance, I've been eating sugary foods my whole life, and I always had massive hay fever, and I didn't realise. I just thought I had hay fever. I thought that was my genetic lot. So there's going to be things that are going on with you that you're like, oh, I just have this thing, but I've always had it. And you just accept it and you live with it. But it's not actually natural. It's because of,
You know what? I think you're right. I think it's time, because I've always, like I said, I've never really erased milk from my diet at any time. So I think it's time I give it a 30-day challenge, avoid dairy for 30 days and see if anything happens. So yeah, man, watch this space. I mean, what made you kind of go into this area and just start researching health? Was it mainly your hay fever, like you said, or anything else?
Nah, honestly, since I was about 25, I felt like my health was diminishing.
That's quite early to feel that.
Yeah. My diet was terrible, though. My diet's been terrible my whole life. Like, the amount of sugary stuff I used to eat. In the morning, I'd have cereal, and I look back and I think, my God, how much sugar did I put in? I'd pour loads of sugar in. That's what I was like, and all I wanted to eat was just bullshit. And since about then, I noticed that my health was diminishing. I also noticed that my brain didn't work as well as it used to. I noticed that, again, from the age of about 25. And then lately, I thought, shit, I need to sort this out. Because, I didn't want to become one of these old men that was like, I didn't want to become one of these old men that was incapacitated. So, I'd say it was more from, necessity and desperation rather than anything, really.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things, you take your youth for granted until it starts to slip away, then all of a sudden you start scrambling for ways to stay as young as possible for as long as possible.
Yeah.
So makes perfect sense. So okay, let's kind of move on to your other projects. Your website, your bits and bobs that you're doing. You seem like you're a man on a mission. You almost seem like you're the British Tim Ferriss. It feels like you're experimenting on yourself. You're always trying new ideas.
Gosh, a British Tim Ferriss.
Yeah, the Black Tim Ferriss. So. Like trying to do TED Talks and, you're doing various challenges. So, what are you up to right now? What's the next thing that you're up to? And tell us about this TED Talk experience as well.
All right. Do you want a TED Talk first?
Yeah, because, public speaking terrifies a lot of people. So how did that happen? How did that go?
It's really weird. I like to think it was synchronicity. I really do, because about last week or the week before, whenever it was, I was at work and I just randomly started Googling how to become a TED speaker. And I Googled it, and then I had a look at the site and it just looked like hard work. I thought, fuck it. I thought, just screw it. Then later on that day, my friend emailed me and he goes, have a look at this. And it was basically a link to tryouts for TED Talks that were taking place the next day. And I was like, that had to be the universe. I thought, screw it, I'm going to go. So the idea was that they give you, it's not a proper TED Talk, it's like TEDx, basically, which is like the smaller version of TED. And they give you 3 minutes to pitch. So you get up and you pitch your idea for 3 minutes. And then if they like it, they will let you know in July, which I guess is now this month. And then you'll go to the main event in November to deliver the speech. So I decided that my speech would be about 100 women in 50 days and what I learned. But I decided to call it How to Approach Women Without Being Creepy. Because again, that's a topic that everybody really cares about.
Yeah.
Either women care because they care about guys approaching them and being creepy and it's annoying. And guys care because they think, how the hell do I approach a woman? So I thought, fuck it, that's what I'm going to go and do. So I went up and I did my 3-minute pitch. I had a round of applause at the end, but I think everybody got rounds of applause, to be fair.
What was the audience like? How many people in the audience?
80 people.
That's a lot. That's a lot. And then what kind of environment was it like? Was it like a hall or theatre? Or
no, it was in a coffee shop.
Okay.
Yeah.
With like regular people in there or just the people?
No, it was people from...
Cool.
Yeah, tech people.
Yeah. And then if you go through to the next stage, you'll have to give a bigger talk around that subject.
The actual talk.
Yeah.
Like the actual TEDx talk.
I would love to hear a TEDx talk from you about how to approach women without being creepy. That I think a lot of guys want to hear that.
Yeah.
Cool. And then your website, CiaranCallam.com. Is that just somewhere that you keep things kind of like a journal or something like that?
Alright, how can I put this? It's like, if you can't tell from the stuff I said that sounded vaguely conspiratorial, and things I've said about everybody being scared, it's like, you know, like in the film The Matrix, everybody's in the Matrix and they don't realise. I mean, that's kind of true, really. Like, people are kind of trapped, and most people are living lives that they don't like. Like, they have a job that they dislike, but they think, well, you know, you're not meant to like your job because that's just life, isn't it? But what you do is you go to school and you don't like school, but you work hard at school. Then you go to uni and then you get yourself in debt at uni and you don't like uni, but then you get yourself a job and you spend the best years of your life working. And then you retire when you're 70 and then
you die.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds pretty shitty to me.
Which I don't want at all. And I've always been, when I was a kid, my parents would say, like, what do you want to be when you're older? What do you want to be? And I was like, I don't know. So I thought there's nothing I could think of that I wanted to be enough, even though I do really like writing. And one thing I do is that I write stories. Well, you know what I quite like doing? I quite like breaking myself free from bullshit, showing other people that they can do the same, and actually just sticking a middle finger up at the system.
Well, this is what I mean when I say that, you know, you like to experiment on yourself almost. It seems like, you're always kind of pushing this comfort zone barrier, really. So... Yeah. It's got, you know what I'm trying to do? If you imagine the negative parts of society, and say from the negative parts of society, I'll just say everybody's kept in and they're restricted. And if you imagine that is like a computer program, I'm just trying to like hack into it and just like, I'm trying to like upload a virus in there to break it down. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to... So, a thought just came into my head literally just now. Have you ever looked into being a coach? Because it sounds like a lot of people could use somebody with your level of motivation and kind of passion and skills, really.
You know what? I haven't, but maybe I should, because for my whole life I've always been someone who, if you said to me, Ciaran, I want to be an actor, but I don't think I can do it, all of a sudden I go, no, we need to talk about how we're going to make you an actor. That's
you seem like a natural coach to me.
If you said that to me when I was 10, that's how I'd react. I'd be like, hold on, what's this bullshit about you can't be an actor? Yes, you can. No, let's figure this out. All right, let's break it down. Okay, so what do you need to do? You need to go to acting school. Well, I found there's an acting school here. You know, we can get... That's what I'm like, so maybe I should.
Yeah. I mean, I think we found a new vocation for you, Ciaran.
Oh, jeez.
I'm just saying.
Well, anyone who's listening, if you're desperate for coaching, if you would actually like me to coach you, yeah, screw it, why not? Ciaran at CiaranCallam.com, which is CIARAN at CIARANCALLAM.com. And that's M, not an N, M for mother.
Yep, that is correct. Because you mentioned the fact that obviously now you have a girlfriend, but you're still out there being social, you're still out there helping your friends meet nice girls. So how do you find being a wingman, again from this point of view that you want people to succeed? How do you find that, when you go out with your friends, and how do you help them along?
How do I help them along? Okay, so what I'll do is, there's a couple of things I'll do. Off the top of my head, if I'm with my friend and he's talking to a girl, like, I will tell him to do things I think he should do. So, like, mate, touch her. Like, so like I might walk by and say, go on, put your arm around her. Something like that. I'll do little things like that. And like afterwards I'll be like, look, there's something that you always do, blah, 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 blah. Like I'm actively trying to help them, but then also...
So you give direct feedback.
Yeah. It's like if we're talking to the girl, like if my friend is talking to a girl and he says, I'm an amazing guy, the girl goes, you're bragging. But if I say my friend's an amazing guy, then that's a genuine compliment that's come from someone else. So I'll be speaking to the girl, I'll make sure that girl knows that my friend is the great guy who she's lucky to be speaking to. You know, I'll do things like that.
That was in that was in the game, wasn't it? I don't know if you read the game. Neil Strauss. The concept being that, like you said, obviously, you know, when you talk to a girl, you can't be bragging about yourself. But if a friend,
someone else,
whilst you're away, a friend kind of upsells you, talks high about you, that could have a lot of impact. Do you go out a lot? Do you go out a lot in London? Do you go out daytime, nighttime?
Maybe once a week or so.
Yeah. What you live around Shoreditch, don't you? So what's your spots around Shoreditch, or do you even like going out around there?
No, I do.
Okay.
I do. Shoreditch is my favourite part of London, really. I haven't found a part of London that I prefer to Shoreditch. Where else? I used to like Camden. I used to think I liked Camden before I moved to London, but since I moved here, I've just been disappointed. Where else? Nah, it's all about Shoreditch. Yeah. Because like other than Shoreditch, really, and that sort of East London area, you kind of got like. You've got touristy areas, but then when you're in touristy places, I find the music to be cheesy and the girls are all leaving in like a few days' time or so. So I definitely say I prefer Shoreditch. Now there's Barrio East in Shoreditch, which is good. They have loads of nice cocktails and there's always like sexy Latin girls and stuff. If you like that sort of thing.
If you're into that shit.
If you like that sort of thing. And then there's also, where else? There's the Box Park as well. Quite like the Box Park.
Okay, but that shuts around 11 midnight, doesn't it?
Yeah. But it's like a great place to go. Like say if it's a Saturday and you go there about 5 o'clock or so, it's heaving. Yeah. And there's loads.
It's nice and social. Yeah. Open air on a nice hot day. Be pretty great.
Yeah, Cargo's great as well. Quite like
Cargo. Cool. All right, Ciaran, this has been very, very, very eye-opening, man.
Cheers.
I appreciate you coming on, but it's very hot in this studio.
It is. I'm sweating.
Yeah.
You can't tell to listen to my voice, but boy, I'm moist.
Nah, Ciaran...
I'm lubricated.
Ciaran is the man right here. Learned a lot just from this very conversation, so I appreciate it. Is there any shout-outs you'd like to give to anyone or anything you want to say? Before we wrap up.
Okay, shout outs. Who does I want to shout out? Fuck it. Alright then. So all the guys from RSD London, really. There's Alex White, there's Joe Elvin, there's Jeff Winch, or is it Lynch? Jeff, let's call him Jeff Winch.
Is that your usual like bros?
Yeah. And if you're listening to this, actually, you can get involved in the RSD London Inner Circle, or even actually any of the RSD inner circles in general, because it's a great place to meet guys who are on the journey and trying to become the best versions of themselves. Also give a shout out to my lovely girlfriend Mary Nikki, who basically is a fantastic person, both inside and out. Who else would I like to shout out? You for inviting me.
All right, appreciate it.
Oh, and also as well, so check out my website, kieranCallam.com. There's one thing I'm doing.
One
thing I'm doing.
Yes.
One thing I'm doing. I was off the back of 100 Women in 50 Days. I was contacted by a production company, and they said literally it was like the next day. Like literally the next day.
So like 51st day or something.
Yeah. Like 100 Women in 50 Days, day 51. I got a tweet. Hey Ciaran, we're casting for a TV show. Blah blah blah.
Nice.
Wow.
Nice.
So this is it. It's called A Year to Find Love or A Year to Fall in Love. I forget. It's a Channel 4 series. Now they're following single people across the UK. So what they do is they give you a camera and you document your dating life for the course of a year. So it's kind of like, say you might be using it and you're going through Tinder and you're looking at girls and you'll be like, oh, I really like this girl's profile, I like this girl's profile. Oh, I messaged her but she stopped responding, I'm really sad.
Yeah.
And then you go on a date and you're like, oh, I'm really sad because the date was terrible or the date's amazing.
Would you bring a camera to the date?
You could do.
Yeah.
Like, you can do whatever. So if your date is happy for you to do that, then fine. If not, maybe speak afterwards and you with friends talking about your dating life. It's all that sort of stuff. And I'm doing that. And that should air early next year.
It's amazing. Ciaran's going to be famous.
Oh, well.
You heard it here first. London Project.
Famous? I don't have an ego at all. I don't want that. Notoriety?
All those groupies? Nah, he's not interested in any of that.
Yeah.
He's not interested, so stay away, girls.
You know, one thing I will say about my lovely girlfriend, right? So there's a Brazilian fitness model called Eva Andressa, right?
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, you know her.
No, but
Okay,
I think I want to.
Eva Andressa. And I took my girlfriend to one side. I said, look, right, if I'm ever in a situation which I can have sex with this girl, just write it off.
Allow it.
Yeah, just allow it. Just allow it. Like, because I'm going to. If it ever comes to, I'm going to do it.
You know what? I think that's fair.
Yeah. I was like, look, I'll give you one as well. I'll give you one. But yeah, I don't know how I got into that, but there we go.
All right. Ciaran, thanks very much.
Thank you.
And yeah, peace out.
All right. Bye.